DeFi Slate team.
What's up, y'all? Real quick, if you like the DeFi Slate content on Twitter and YouTube and Substack, please give us a like and a subscribe on this video on YouTube. Join our channel, join the community. We'd really appreciate it. We're pumping this stuff out for y'all as much as we can, and we really enjoy the support and the community that we've built. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is episode 50 of the DeFi by Design podcast. Today we're talking to Peng Zhong. And we are going to dive into the Cosmos ecosystem. So Cosmos is another one of those layer one blockchains. I'm not going to explain too much about it. I'm going to save that for one of the OGs of the Cosmos blockchain and one of the day one builders over there. Of course, Andy is here with us. Andy, what is going on, mate?
Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah, we are live right now with the Cosmos ecosystem in mind. A lot of these layer ones are coming out very, very prominent. And yeah, I mean, there's been some interesting incentives created for a lot of these layer one protocols. So we're going to dive into kind of what is happening in Cosmos for you to learn about kind of the history of what's happening with Tendermint, how you can get into Cosmos, earn some yield, and participate in that kind of world. And what this looks like for bringing DeFi, to more people. So excited to hear more from Peng, and I will turn it over to him for an intro to himself and the Cosmos ecosystem.
Hey everyone, great to be here. Thank you to Robbie and Andy for bringing me on. So I'm Peng Zhong, CEO at Tendermint. Give you a brief recap of where I come from. I have a background in UI design and front-end development. I used to make websites. And I got involved into crypto in early 2014. There was the Bitcoin wiki back then, and I decided to post my services for sale as a website designer, right? And turns out no one wanted a website designer that wanted to get paid in Bitcoin, right? So nothing really happened around then. But in late 2015, I was reached out by the founder of Tendermint, 𝗂𝗂𝗃, and his very small team at the time. It was just 𝗂𝗂𝗃, Ethan Buckman, and that was about it. So I joined as the very first employee after the initial founders in late 2015, and we've been building proof of stake technology since then. The idea of Cosmos didn't come into being until late 2016, and in 2017, the Interchain Foundation was created and launched the fundraiser for the Cosmos Hub blockchain. They raised about $17 million in 30 minutes, and really the rest is history. So what is it now? Like 4 years later now in 2021, Cosmos Hub blockchain is somewhere within the top 30 blockchains in market value today. But that's only one part of the ecosystem, right? It's like the visible part of the iceberg. Cosmos, the ecosystem, is really big, far larger than most people realize, because while Cosmos is a blockchain, it also is the infrastructure that powers over 250 different projects. And of the projects that are live today, over 100 billion USD of value is built on top of Cosmos core tech.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a bunch of projects that are out there on Cosmos that a lot of people aren't even aware of it. But when you look at one of those ecosystem maps, it's kind of shocking that there are so many projects built on there. So what's kind of the allure to build on top of Cosmos versus other chains? What's the attractive lever of building atop Cosmos?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andy. So you mentioned, some of the bigger chains built on top of Cosmos tech. I can name some of them right now. You would recognize them. They include Binance Chain, Terra, Crypto.com, Thorchain, and many others, like Kava, Fetch AI, Injective Protocol, Persistence, Akash, Regen, and many more. So those use the entire Cosmos stack and are able to, use Cosmos to its full potential, which I'll explain a little bit later. But there are also other projects that use just the proof of stake protocol, the Tendermint consensus protocol. And these include projects like Polygon, formerly known as Matic, And also Tezos uses a variant of Tendermint consensus called 𝗫𝗏𝗫 as well that they're moving on to. So our technology has been hugely influential in the industry. So why would people use this tech, right? In one word, it's because it's good tech. It saves you, lots of time from having to build your own blockchain framework. And it's blockchain framework designed for public blockchains, right? So it's not like Hyperledger. It's not meant for, private permissioned blockchains. It's meant for public blockchains. It's meant to rival, Ethereum and Bitcoin and other public blockchains that are fully decentralized. So, with this free tech, you can build anything you want. You can build, multi-billion-dollar networks. You can also build, weekend projects, and it's all under your control, right? You don't have to buy a token to use Cosmos tech. So that's, really why it's so appealing for many builders.
So what's the relationship here between Tendermint and Cosmos? Are they on top of each other? Kind of, what does that look like?
That is actually like a great way to think about it. So blockchains built on Cosmos tech are comprised of two layers, right? With Tendermint being the base layer and Cosmos being the application layer. I'll use an example that might be familiar to more people, maybe it's even people outside of crypto. If you use computers, you probably know how to use BitTorrent, right? And then the torrent protocol. Tendermint consensus protocol is in many ways similar to something like the BitTorrent protocol. It allows a bunch of machines around the world to reach consensus on, what is an accurate file or an accurate set of files or an accurate, zip file, things like that. Whereas BitTorrent just verifies, a binary file, like let's say a Linux ISO, right? Tendermint verifies a chain of transactions, a blockchain, essentially. So that's what Tendermint does. It replicates, one database across many machines, and it allows those machines to also listen for transactions that are coming from, people around the world. So Tendermint handles that consensus portion and makes sure is that, we don't have people double signing, and other attacks that are possible without blockchain. What Cosmos is, and the Cosmos SDK is the application layer. So that's what makes your application different from everyone else, right? The most simplest application being an application that just says hello world, that does nothing else. That's an application. You can also build some wildly complicated applications, like a DEX, for example, or you can create an Ethereum bridge, or you can create a smart contract platform, just like Ethereum. You can, in fact, one project built by a team called 𝗨𝗏 is working on bringing all of the features of the Ethereum virtual machine onto Cosmos, right? So you can write Solidity smart contracts. You can port over your favorite Solidity smart contracts over to Cosmos and run it on top of Tendermint proof of stake consensus. So that's how it works together. There are two layers. Tendermint, the company, we invented the Tendermint consensus protocol. We were the original builders of the Cosmos SDK. And we built the initial underpinnings, but now this technology is being developed on by many companies in what is it? Together.
Sweet. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for the clarification there. It's an interesting kind of system of checks and balances almost. When it gets to bringing the chains together to interoperate, in the best ways possible. So right now, what does the interoperability look like for Cosmos-based chains with, I guess, Ethereum and kind of these other prominent layer one chains that are popping up now? Kind of how, is there EVM compatibility with Cosmos? How can users access the Cosmos chain to start yield farming? So how can our community get in there who is, on this right now and listening in? How can they participate in, basically reward, yield mining, all sorts of stuff, in Cosmos? How do they get there? How compatible is it? What's that process kind of look like?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm really excited this year. I think 2021 has been the year of cross-chain and multi-chain, and that has really entered everyone's minds as being necessary, right? I think all of crypto is united towards getting as much capital and assets off of centralized exchanges and onto decentralized exchanges. But once you do that, right, how do you bridge, Solana to Ethereum and Solana to Cosmos and things like that? Well, that's one area that Cosmos has been thinking about since 2017. We were really the original cross-chain project. It's taken us quite a long time to make sure the protocol works. But as of early 2021, as of March, we've enabled IBC, which is called the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol. If you're familiar with how the web works, it's similar to TCP/IP. It's a low-level protocol allowing you to exchange data between blockchains. So I totally glazed over it earlier when I mentioned why people want to build on Cosmos, right? Yes, it's great tech. It saves you months, if not years of development time. And you get to own everything at the end of it, right? But at the same time, it also allows you to communicate and send tokens between all the chains built with Cosmos. Right now, there are, I believe, 11 blockchains live today that support IBC. Given that IBC, really just launched in March, I think it's a great sign. We have about 30 other blockchains slated to upgrade to the version of the Cosmos SDK that supports IBC by the end of the year. So we should see, 40 different chains with communities that are able to freely send tokens back and forth between each other without relying on any centralized entity. So that's super exciting, but that is still the Cosmos corner of the world, right? So how do we get from there to Ethereum and to Solana and to Polygon, etc.? That's what we're all working on right now. So we are in touch with a lot of these other major ecosystems and figuring out ways to incentivize bridge building. We do believe IBC is the right way forward. Given that chains built on Cosmos, right, have already surpassed the $100 billion USD mark, there's a lot of momentum behind IBC, right? The moment you decide to build a chain that supports IBC, you have access, to all of these users, across, hundreds of chains right now. So there's a lot of incentive to do so already. But at the same time, right, there are very big ecosystems that have not worked on IBC. So we're working on them to enable that. The first one of which we're working on is with Ethereum, right? So Ethereum 1.0 cannot use IBC because it's not a fast finality blockchain. By fast finality, I mean, with Ethereum, you need to wait, right, several blocks before you can sort of be sure that you're on the right chain, that the blocks are not going to do a reorg. Similar to Bitcoin, right? With Bitcoin, you have to wait even longer before your guarantee transaction is valid. So those types of chains, proof of work chains, generally can't support IBC. So with Ethereum, there's a team called Althea that has worked on a bridge between Ethereum and Cosmos. The product is called Gravity Bridge, and it's planned on launching, I think, in the upcoming weeks or months. Sometime in Q3, late Q3 or early Q4. So that will allow Ethereum liquidity to come into Cosmos immediately, and will allow, I think everyone listening to the podcast probably has, some ERC20 or ETH tokens to participate without having to do, much else other than have MetaMask ready. For other ecosystems, other bridges are being developed as well in collaboration with those teams.
Yeah. So as far as takeaways and actionables that someone can have, this is kind of what we saw with Avalanche, where people that were on that chain early on, reaped a lot of rewards, the early LP benefits from being on those chains. So the only way to get there now is natively. A bridge from kind of an external ecosystem is still weeks to months away, but there's still, kind of that early adopter incentive to be over there now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have a product for early adopters. It just launched 3 weeks ago. It's called Emrys. it's meant to be a cross-chain DeFi portal. Like I said at the beginning of this interview, I have a background in design and UI development, and I'm really passionate about getting crypto into the hands of more people. So what 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵 is meant to be the most user-friendly, cross-chain DeFi portal in the world. We started by supporting, like Robbie said, just the Cosmos ecosystem, right? So just these initial 10 chains that are IBC supported. But as the ETH bridge goes live, right, we're going to support more protocols, more applications. Things like Uniswap will be natively supported to allow you to, swap assets in ETH, but also be able to transfer them to the Cosmos ecosystem. And why would you want to transfer assets to the Cosmos ecosystem? Well, there are yield farming opportunities.
Now we're talking.
There are 3 live DEXs already in the Cosmos ecosystem. And what makes them really unique is that these are all cross-chain DEXs. In fact, the most recent one that launched, called SIFT-Chain, already has a live ETH bridge. So SIFT-Chain is a project that I don't have a lot of knowledge into, but they have used the Cosmos SDK. They use a fork version of the Ethereum bridge that has been developed for the Cosmos Hub. And they've launched, I think, last week, actually. So, if you're a very early adopter, you can try using SIFT-Chain today to start transferring Ethereum to Cosmos. So once you get...
Would that be the path right now? Like the path of least resistance right now is to use that bridge, you'd say? Like, so say if somebody's just a DeFi user, they don't use centralized exchanges.
Yeah, so here's the caveat, right? So I haven't used SIFT-Chain before. It may be the path that requires, minimal KYC and the lack, you don't need fiat, right? But you can definitely do so. Yeah, you can definitely get into SIFT-Chain, and from SIFT-Chain go into the other DEXs in Cosmos through the IBC protocol, which is really crazy, but I haven't done it myself yet.
And the other way to access would be to purchase Cosmos, so Atom token on a centralized exchange and then transfer it over to a wallet that is compatible with
that
these
is
DEXs.
The other way, right? So the traditional way is, logging onto Binance or Coinbase and getting some Cosmos tokens and then sending them over to a Cosmos wallet or Cosmos portal like 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵. But actually within 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵 itself, you can, there's a fiat on-ramp in there. So you're able to purchase Cosmos tokens directly in 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵. You can bypass the centralized exchange step if you want.
Peng, can you fill out your vision of the multi-chain world a little bit more? Kind of how you see these different chains now that Solana's in the mix. Focus on these layer 1s more so than Polygon and other layer 2s. How do you see them all fitting together?
Yeah, so how I see them fitting together is I see a future where all major ecosystems will bridge to each other. There's no way that's not happening because there's just so much value to be gained by allowing users from other ecosystems to come over, right? Like if you imagine blockchain ecosystems are like cities, right? There's so many advantages to building roads between cities that they'll just be built, right? You see international trade today, as much as, people try to put sanctions into place, free trade is ruling the world right now. There is just so much, arbitrage that can be done by moving from ecosystem to ecosystem. And I think, the people in DeFi right now should really be looking into this area because there are just so few people doing it right now. Of course, there are the caveats. This is all experimental technology, bridging tech, and sending tokens away from their native chain can always be a good way for you to permanently lose those assets forever, right? So please be careful with how much assets you're sending over these bridges. But we believe that, in the Cosmos ecosystem, the IBC bridge in particular is the safest implementation of a bridge that has, ever existed. We've been building this stuff for the longest time. It's never been exploited. And so the biggest DEX in Cosmos, Osmosis, I believe launched about 3 months ago or so. I could be wrong here, but there's already over 300 million USD in TVL. And, when it launched those months ago, yield was I think over like 6,000% the first few days. And even today, yield is over 200% on the incentivized pairs.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. You speak to some of those arbitrage strategies. Yeah, especially when some of these gains are compounded, but I can even see strategies where it's faster to bridge between chains to make a swap rather than, say, waiting for a transaction on L1. So yeah.
Oh, that's definitely true. I'm looking forward to seeing that happening. I think it's just a matter of time before the user experience of that, like you said, like swaps using bridged assets, on proof of stake networks is just so much better than doing a swap or an exchange on Ethereum.
Yeah, and that bridge connection just helps capital efficiency because the infrastructure builds and then the network effect kind of compounds from there. And I see it as almost like a push and a pull. Like we're continuously building these new chains and then having to build these bridges to support the new chains to kind of go in a different direction, not so much in the DeFi realm, but more so on some other business applications you see, or just general applications of Cosmos chain. How can some of these other chains that are building with the SDK integrate, and what are some of what I guess with a general thesis, and then kind of from there, what do you anticipate as some of the major impact applications?
Yeah. So Cosmos is built not just for DeFi, right? I think DeFi is the hottest thing right now. Well, maybe it's overshadowed by NFTs these days, but in either case, whether it's NFTs or DeFi, that's only like a small portion of what blockchain can be used for. Because Cosmos is all about building sovereign chains, right? And it's all about building application-specific chains. It allows you to, fulfill some very niche or esoteric use cases that don't make sense to be done on a more public shared network. I'm going to use Ethereum as an example here again, because you don't need, the whole world to know these transactions are happening, right? Let's say you're an industry like you're shipping lumber, right? And you need to keep track of where lumber is going or where it's coming from. And there are, several companies, around the world that care about this, right? They can easily set up a Cosmos blockchain, make use of this technology that we've all poured, tens of millions of dollars into building, and build something custom to suit their exact needs, right? For verifying the transport and marketplaces for lumber. But at the same time, because it's built on Cosmos, because it uses IBC, you can transport some of this data onto the greater network, let's say onto the Cosmos hub, which is an open blockchain that's meant to route transactions across the internet of blockchains. So you can do that, let's say once a month, pay very minimal transaction fees, during your everyday transactions, but once a month, settle your balances with the greater internet of blockchains. That's what we see as sort of the scalable future for blockchains in general. When you buy an NFT, let's say you buy a CryptoPunk, I can't afford a CryptoPunk, but let's say you buy one and you want to send it to somebody, does the whole world need to know that you sent it? Probably not. Let's say you want to send it from one of your wallets to another one of your wallets, right? Why does it cost you $50 to do that transaction? It shouldn't be done on an NFT specific chain, right? And when you want to transfer to someone else, or when you want to announce, a sale to a different organization, then you could do it on one of the bigger, higher throughput chains. So it's really all about efficiency, right? It's about not having the entire world, share one highway, but instead branch out across the entire world, because the world is big.
Yeah, most definitely. And there's a lot of people that are, there's a lot of people and businesses, corporations, industries that are ready to take on and use blockchain, but just kind of haven't really been presented with the right opportunities yet. And it's just a matter of time. I'm curious kind of if the Cosmos ethos as far as marketing and establishment goes? Is it, would you say more focused towards these crypto native type of DeFi, yield farming type NFT art applications right now, or more perhaps focused on these more enterprise business level kind of higher, let's call it higher level applications of finance and business and data and identity, things like this? Kind of where is the main focus? Is it more crypto native or these larger scale blockchains, I suppose?
Yeah, so we chose the word Cosmos, right, for the brand because it means absolutely everything. So all of those people are customers, from enterprise to weekend projects, to NFT collectors to DeFi degens. It's a matter of what level of Cosmos we're talking about. So at the base layer, which we started with, Tendermint Core, Cosmos SDK, it's technology that's very scalable. So there are small teams, like very small teams, building blockchains, let's say social media platforms and name services and things of that nature that take less effort. But then there's also, projects like Binance Chain. There are projects like Terra that are worth, in the tens of billions of dollars that use the same technology. So I don't want to limit ourselves to calling ourselves like a platform for enterprise, because it's not that, right? I don't come from an enterprise background myself. I'm sort of more of a weekend tinkerer. Before working at Tendermint, right, I did freelance web development work. So I really want to make sure that all of our tools are usable by solo engineers, doing things in their spare time. And I want them to be very successful. I want them to be able to build and raise funding for $1 million and ideally $1 billion projects. Yeah, so we really try to cover the spectrum. And it's really flexible. So maybe you can think of it over time, right? We want to make it as easy to use as something like Airtable or Google Sheets, or Excel, right? That's really what a blockchain is at the end of the day. It's a way to record things into a centralized database or decentralized database, right? With a set of owners and a set of users. And IBC and Cosmos is a way for you to exchange values across spreadsheets. So if we nail the user experience correctly, we'll have 1 million blockchains in the world built on Cosmos tech. And it's not going to be technology that takes over every other tech in blockchain, but it will bridge to every other blockchain in the world.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty solid introduction into getting these new people on board to Cosmos. Getting new people as far as people who are not even into the space of crypto yet, even really. That's a major push that I feel like Cosmos might have an edge on compared to some of these other blockchains. Let's talk about the process of projects building on top of Cosmos. So how does that work? Like, for example, you name some pretty prominent projects towards the beginning of the show. Kind of what does that look like as far as them deciding to build on Cosmos, and then the implementation, and what does the user see, and versus what's kind of happening in the back end?
Yep. So we realized early on that this technology that we're building, the Cosmos SDK, is very flexible and very stable. And now in mid 2021, we see that people are building incredible amounts of value with it. But we want to make sure more people can do so, right? So there is a huge lack of Cosmos developers in the world today. We're trying to figure out ways to educate more people about how to use this tech. But people building projects on Cosmos, like Terra, for example. Terra is a great example because actually, as of today, September 9th, they announced a $150 million initiative to fund Cosmos core development. So they clearly see the value of these tools, and they want to make the infrastructure better, have more people understand how it works. And on a similar vein, we started building a usability layer on top of the Cosmos SDK called Starport about 1.5 years ago. So what Starport is it lets you use the Cosmos SDK to build a blockchain, right? A blockchain that can secure billions of dollars. But at the same time, it saves you a lot of steps. in launching a new chain. So launching a new chain is difficult in the proof of stake world, because unlike proof of work, where in the past maybe you can post on the Bitcoin talk forums. Maybe I'm really dating myself here, and say, hey, I have a new chain. It's a fork of Bitcoin. Here's a new JPEG as the icon. Please go mine it, right? And then really it's sort of fair, because the first people who start mining it get the initial tokens, and the founder never really has to worry about token allocation. But in proof of stake, you need to set an initial token allocation. That's one of the biggest problems in blockchain today. Like, how do you solve initial token distribution? You can do fundraisers, right? Fundraisers are very clear and well-tested way to do it. But at the same time, the legal clarity around doing crypto fundraisers is very unclear around many parts of the world. And so another option people have been doing are airdrops, right? Maybe you can airdrop tokens to a set of people that would believe in your project and use it. So we've been working on this tool called Starport. It's meant to solve fundraising for blockchain projects. It's also meant to solve the hosting problem. So like we mentioned before in mining, right? You download an app, you start mining tokens. And due to the elegance of proof of work, anyone can start mining at any time. They can stop mining anytime, no problem. But in proof of work, Cosmos-based Tendermint proof of stake. Wait, sorry, I'm talking about proof of stake now. But generally, you need to launch a blockchain with at least 2/3 of the tokens that exist for that blockchain. Let's say you're creating a new chain called the banana chain, right? And there are 1 million banana tokens, right? So to launch this banana network, you need to have at least 67 million banana tokens staked to some of the initial validators, and you need them to all start their hardware, to start their applications at the same time, right? It becomes a big coordination problem. Cosmos championed this coordination process through incentivized contests in the past. We're like, hey, we want to get people to start launching Cosmos chains, right? So we launched these games where we give out, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to validators who help us launch things at the same time. But we also realized that for smaller chains, weekend projects, smaller teams, they don't have the capital to fund these experiments. They don't have the marketing team to get the reach, to get it, the validators they need to launch a chain. So Starport Network also solves the validator problem. I like to think of it as Uber for validation, right? So instead of creating a website, a social media profile, and then slowly collecting a community and reaching out to validators individually, we have this platform that allows you to sort of on demand say, hey, I got a blockchain, I want to launch it, I want to set the token distribution. If you want to validate for it, I can give you part of it. And the idea is validators will just start coming right up to you and negotiating with you how many tokens they want to get in return for launching a chain. So yeah, that's my recommendation, sort of long-winded, but use Starport. You can launch your own chain. Starport has a testnet that is launching Q4. We're launching mainnet in Q1. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we have Starport, which is basically how we were able to launch new chains through the Cosmos IBC, and that's kind of like the key factor of being able to launch new protocols and sustain this kind of level of value to the base layer, which basically is the Cosmos blockchain. At its core, it is responsible almost for all of the other chains built atop of it, which derive value from the Cosmos blockchain, and the blockchain itself, Cosmos, also derives value from the kind of application layer on top. So we're kind of getting to a point where we have a lot of these protocols in DeFi, the Uniswaps, the Aabes, the Sushi swaps, that are starting to derive their value, not necessarily just from Ethereum, but from multiple chains. We've seen them port over to Phantom, to Avalanche, to Polygon. Is there a future where we see these kind of OG Ethereum decentralized applications porting over to Cosmos and running on the Cosmos blockchain? What would that process look like as far as deploying some of these OG apps on Cosmos?
Yeah, that's a great question. So going back again to the Cosmos Hub blockchain, it's got the Atom, right? You can, as of today, right, you can vote with it, you can stake with it. And as of, I think, a couple of months ago, we launched a DEX. The community launched a DEX on the Cosmos Hub called the Gravity DEX. And it's a cross-chain DEX, right, that allows you to swap tokens that comes through IBC. I also mentioned that later this year, late Q3, early Q4, the current maintainer of the Cosmos Hub plans on adding a Ethereum bridge onto the Cosmos Hub, right? So you're able to bring Ethereum assets over and swap with it and LP with it on Gravity DEX. But the same thing is possible in reverse, right? So you're able to take Cosmos assets. Like I said earlier, there's 10 chains, 10 Cosmos assets really, that can go onto the Cosmos Hub, and then from there, take the ETH bridge back over to ETH. So you're going to see things like Atom and Terra tokens on Ethereum. So you can already, access all the great DeFi apps that you're used to on Ethereum with Cosmos tokens. I think that's really cool. As far as answering your question about porting over Ethereum smart contracts, like Aave and SushiSwap and such onto the Cosmos ecosystem, we see that happening as well. So there's a team called Tharsis, right, building Ethermint, which is EVM on Cosmos, and they plan on launching in the upcoming months. So that is one direct way Solidity developers can port over their DeFi contracts over to Cosmos. In the future, I would say, next year, there is also a new feature being added to the Cosmos Hub called interchain security. So what this is a way for the Cosmos Hub to secure multiple blockchains with the same validator set. And this may include an EVM chain. So an EVM Cosmos chain secured by the Cosmos Hub, right, secured by the Atom, which is probably going to be far more secure than a standalone EVM Cosmos chain, just because I think the Cosmos Hub is valued at over 7 billion right now. Yeah, so there's many. Sorry, there's many ways for Solidity smart contracts to come over to Cosmos, and development is moving very quickly to make sure that's possible by later this year, early next year.
Yeah, the composability is certainly there and coming along for Cosmos to integrate most of these applications that are already building communities and brands across all the chains. There's kind of that battle between the native yield farms and the ones that are, blue chips, as people refer to them. And that's kind of a balance that I think is playing out on a chain by chain basis.
Oh yeah, I appreciate and love blue chip DeFi protocols. I use the ones that are on Ethereum because that's the network I trust the most. Haven't had a lot of time really to investigate, layer 2s and other scalability options. For example, I haven't used Phantom, I haven't used Polygon that much, right? So I appreciate where the blue chips are, but I also see that, it's not cheap to use. It's really expensive to use, right? If you want to actually earn yield and withdraw regularly, you need to put in lots of money, probably tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars into these protocols on ETH. If you're earning, a small amount of yield, then it's not really even worth it to participate in DeFi. But what these scalability solutions offer and what things like, EVM Cosmos will offer, is just much cheaper transaction costs. So, people who are able to earn, like $10 a month and withdraw it and not feel like they're being ripped off and losing everything due to transaction fees. So that's something I care about a lot as well.
Solid. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, as far as transaction fees, could you just give us a quick scope on like how you stack up to some of these other chains?
Yeah. So first of all, my disclaimer is that Cosmos doesn't plan on competing on transaction fees or TPS. That's not how Cosmos scales. How Cosmos scales is by launching application-specific chains, right? So if at any one point, one protocol, congests an entire blockchain. Let's say someone deploys 𝗹𝗲 on an EVM on Cosmos chain, and it totally blocks anyone else from using it, any other sort of DeFi protocol from using it. Well, that's when 𝗹𝗲 should really launch their own 𝗹𝗲 chain on Cosmos, and have the entire bandwidth of that chain dedicated to 𝗹𝗲. And if that becomes saturated, right, they should launch multiple 𝗹𝗲 on Cosmos chains, and it's very easy to do so. Cosmos is meant to be very horizontally scalable. So that's the long-term solution for scaling, right? But to answer your question, transactions right now in the Cosmos Hub are between 1 to 10 cents per transaction, USD cents, and transaction speed is about 7 seconds per transaction. Wait, what am I saying? 7 seconds per block of transactions.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, that competes with the scaling solutions out there right now, Phantoms, the Avalanches, and yeah, it provides a layer of security, as you're saying, that with the the $7 billion market cap. I'm kind of keen what you think about that as a measure of security for some of these alternative layer one chains. Like, should we be looking at them as, all right, what's the market cap and like user base, and like, is there a monetary moat? Like, is that a real concept? Kind of talk us through the concept of like a monetary moat by means of market cap and just I guess wealth of holders, in terms of validation and stuff like that, and if that even exists.
Yeah, so I think it exists, but I think it's also only one part of a moat. I think in Cosmos anyway, we tend to rank security based on the value of the assets being secured. But it's also true that there's many other factors at play here, right? It's about the age of the network, right? Let's say if everyone apes into a new network, and now there's like 1 billion staked and 500 million total value locked on our DEX on this new network, right? Is it as valuable as a $1 billion network that's been around for 3 years? No, it's not, because it hasn't gone through due diligence, right? People who may want to look into the inner workings of this chain haven't had time to look into it, right? So how long the network is running is also a big contributor, right? And of course, Bitcoin wins that race. But then again, with Bitcoin, right, it's become so conservative that you can't really do DeFi on Bitcoin. So it's a balancing act, right? There are other things as well. So the moat also includes the user base itself, right? What are the core values of the user base, right? Are they, particularly yield oriented, right? Are they just going to hop onto the next best thing the moment they can, right? And leave everyone else sort of in a lurch. You need to make sure people aren't just chasing short-term yield. You really want to build a community of long-term holders, long-term governance participants. That's also part of the moat. You also have to look at the leadership of an ecosystem, right? Are they people you want to hang out with, right? Are they toxic? Or are they, looking to do things for the sake of the entire community as a whole? So yeah, it's really about buying into an entire ecosystem, buying into an entire community. And Cosmos is not opinionated there. That's why we allow the creation of hundreds of thousands or a million different communities. You really got to pick and choose which one you want to be a part of.
Sweet. Yeah, I think that's important. And there's no, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no like leader of Cosmos that's like active on social media or anything. Is there?
There are lots of leaders of Cosmos, but there's no one that can actually speak for the Cosmos blockchain.
Right, because I'm thinking of like Ethereum. You got Vitalik, and on Phantom now you've got 𝗁𝗲𝗀𝗄𝗃, and even on the other side of things, you've got Justin Sun and Tron, and kind of Charles Hoskinson and Eamon for Avalanche. There's a bunch for these different chains, but these are all decentralized protocols. I'm curious what your thoughts are as far as having like almost like a ringleader for a decentralized protocol, where they're obviously very hands off in terms of how the protocol develops. It's more so in the hands of the core developers, but they're kind of at the helm. What's kind of your thought process on that?
Yeah, I think this is sort of the beauty and also the difficulty of the Cosmos ecosystem. We have so many leaders and so many people building great things, but because the core infrastructure is so good and it makes it so easy to exit and build your own chain, right? Yeah, when core developers disagree, they tend to go out and create their own chain in Cosmos, which is really cool for the ecosystem, but can be hard to follow if you're an outsider, right? So yeah, Cosmos is really huge, and most people don't know how big it is. But it's also hard to invest in Cosmos, right?
Yeah, like where do you look? Like, okay, so you got the Atom token, but like what are like the blue chips of Cosmos?
Blue chips of Cosmos. Okay, this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to be a little bit neutral and just say, go check out the Cosmos Network website. We have a page that shows all Cosmos projects by market cap. And I would say the top 10 or 15 are the blue chips in Cosmos. Yeah.
Cool.
But you should really do your own research.
For sure.
The reason why the Atom is so central to Cosmos is because many of the people in the ecosystem hold Atoms. And the Atom was really the first token in Cosmos to exist. It's also the token that really has paid the salaries of all the developers working in the ecosystem. So if you believe in the core tech of Cosmos, then you should be a part of the ecosystem. But there's many, many ways you can be a part of the ecosystem. It doesn't have to be, buying one token. Yeah, one of the things we're working on is actually like a decentralized ETF, so that you buy a basket of all the top Cosmos tokens. We'll have more to say about that in the future.
Yeah, those indexes do well. People like those a lot. Just kind of makes it easy on them. And when you make it easy, it's it's easy. So yeah, that's awesome.
In the meantime, I recommend checking out 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵. 𝗵𝗶𝗴 is one way to check out all the tokens that support IBC right now. 10 chains right now, 40-ish by the end of the year. And I would guess maybe over 200 by the end of next year. So you're sort of the ground zero of a brand new ecosystem that's going to bridge all ecosystems together. I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Sweet. Awesome, man. This is one thing that we kind of ask at the end of each show. Is, as we wrap up here, if you had to pitch one person on the Cosmos ecosystem in an elevator, who would it be and why?
Yeah, so I would pitch builders. I think there's so much opportunity here to build valuable projects.
Well, that wasn't the question.
Oh,
is there one builder?
Person.
Yeah, is there one
okay.
person, one builder that you would pitch? If you were in this scenario, you were stuck in an elevator with this person, who would you choose to be in the elevator with?
Yeah, well, obviously I'd pitch Elon Musk. I think
obviously
he loves space travel, and Cosmos fits with that theme. And at the same time, because of this cross-chain communication protocol, right? You can do things like use Cosmos to build blockchains on Mars and blockchains on Earth, and then sync them up, every month or so when the planets align, or whenever they do so. So it's really cool. This tech can be used for that. It wasn't meant for that, but I think it's a really neat feature.
Yeah, someone needs to connect Andy's Tesla with my Ferrari. No, I'm playing. But yeah, and they need to communicate with each other on a self distributed network where self-driving cars can talk to one another. Yeah, maybe the Cosmos ecosystem is right for that.
It can definitely be used for that.
We'll see.
Nice.
All right.
Where's that? Where's our business plan for this Cosmos ecosystem grant? We're gonna build it out. Pitch Elon.
All righty, gents.
Peng, thanks for coming on, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you, Andy and Robbie. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.